Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Rodrick Rules. By Jeff Kenny. Narrated by Ramon de Ocampo.
December. Monday. Well, good news on the talent show. The tryouts were today, and me and Scotty didn't make it in. Okay, so maybe I could have done a better job as Scotty's assistant, but I didn't blow it on purpose. I just forgot to hand him his props once or twice. And read a newspaper while we were on stage. We were the only ones who didn't make the cut, and that actually is kind of embarrassing. I know we weren't exactly the best act trying out today, but we weren't the worst either. Some of the acts that got in were a lot lamer than our magic act. This kindergartner named Harry Gilbertson made the cut, and all he did was roller skate figure eights around a boombox that was playing Yankee Doodle Dandy. Rodrick's band made it in too, and he's acting like that's some huge accomplishment. Like I said before, Rodrick is really excited about the Winter Talent Show. In fact, he actually got his science fair project done a day early so he could squeeze in some extra band practices before the big night. But when Rodrick turned in his project, his science teacher told him he was going to have to start over and come up with a whole new idea. He said that Rodrick didn't use the scientific method with a hypothesis and a conclusion and all that. Rodrick told the teacher he actually grew a 1/16 of an inch during his zero-gravity experiment, so that proved he was onto something. But his teacher said that's a normal amount for a boy Rodrick's age to grow in a month. Well, this really stinks for me, because I had decided to do my science fair project on zero gravity too. And now it looks like all the research I did, watching Rodrick sleep, was just a big waste of time. Dad told Rodrick he's going to have to just skip the talent show so he can do a new experiment, but Rodrick says he's not going to do it. Rodrick told Dad he doesn't care about school anymore. He said his plan is to win the talent show and use the tape of the performance to get signed to a record label. Then he'll quit school and just do the band full-time. It sounds like a terrible plan to me, but I think Dad is pretty open to the idea, if it gets Rodrick out of the house. December. Wednesday. Tonight was the big Winter Talent Show. I didn't want to go, and neither did Dad. But Mom made us both go to show our support for Rodrick. Rodrick and Mom went to the school early to bring some stuff that Rodrick's band needed. So Dad had to ride in the band's van with Bill. And Dad wasn't too thrilled when he ran into his boss in the school parking lot. The show kicked off at 7 o'clock, and let me just say, I think it was a really bad idea to combine the 3 schools for this thing. They ended up having kindergartners singing songs to their teddy bears, followed by 18-year-olds doing speed metal guitar solos, like Larry Larkin's performance of Carnage. I don't think Dad approved of Larry Larkin and all his piercings. Halfway through Larry's guitar solo, Dad leaned over and whispered to the man sitting next to him, "What's the worst thing that kid up there could say to you?" I wish I had time to warn Dad that that guy he was talking to was Larry's father. Yep, you guessed it. Dad's answer to what's the worst thing that kid could say to you was, "Hi, Dad." Oops. Another problem with combining the schools was that there were too many acts, and the show went on forever. At 9:30, they decided to start running 2 acts at the same time to keep the show moving along. Sometimes it worked out all right, like when they had Patty Farrell tap dancing while Spencer Kitt was juggling. But other times, it didn't work out too good, like when Terrence James played a harmonica on a unicycle, while Cherise Klein read her poem about global warming. Rodrick's band was the last act to take the stage. Before the show, Rodrick asked me to videotape his band during their act, but I told him, no way. He's been such a jerk to me lately that I can't believe he was trying to hit me up for a favor. So Mom volunteered for camera duty. Rodrick's band got paired up with Harry Gilbertson, the roller skating kid, and I'm sure Rodrick wasn't too happy about that. I noticed Dad wasn't sitting next to me while Rodrick's band played, so I looked around for him. Dad was standing in the back of the gym with cotton balls sticking out of his ears, and he stayed there until the song was over. After Rodrick's band performed, they handed out the awards. Rodrick's band didn't win anything, but Harry Gilbertson walked away with a prize for Best Musical Act. Go figure. But you'll never guess who the grand prize winner was. Rowley's babysitter, Leland. He won for his ventriloquist act because the judges said it was wholesome. I never thought I'd agree with Rodrick on anything, but I'm starting to wonder if maybe he was right about Leland being a nerd after all. After the show, Rodrick's band came back to our house to watch the videotape of their performance. They were all grumbling about how they got robbed, and how the judges don't know the first thing about rock and roll. So their plan was to just mail the videotape off to some record labels and let their performance speak for itself. They all sat down in front of the TV, and Rodrick put the tape in the machine. But it took about 30 seconds for everyone to realize the tape was worthless. You know how Rodrick asked Mom to videotape the show? Well, she did a pretty good job of filming, but she talked non-stop during the first 2 minutes, and the camera picked up every little comment she made. Things like, "That shirt makes Rodrick's arms look so skinny." Every time Bill stuck out his tongue and flicked it up and down like a rock star, you could hear Mom ring in with her opinion. "I don't like that." In fact, the only time Mom stopped talking was when Rodrick did his drum solo. But during that part, the camera was shaking around so much that you couldn't even see anything. At first, Rodrick and his bandmates were really mad. But then one of them remembered that the school taped the talent show, and it's supposed to be on the local cable channel tomorrow night. I guess that means they'll all be coming back over to watch that. December. Thursday. Well, things have gotten really bad for me in the last few hours. Rodrick and his bandmates came over around 7 o'clock tonight to watch the talent show on TV. They sat through the whole 3-hour show until their band came on. The school actually did a decent job of taping the performance, and things were looking pretty good, up until Rodrick's drum solo. That's when Mom started dancing. And whoever was doing the filming zoomed right in on Mom and kept the camera pointed at her for the rest of the song. That meant Rodrick didn't have anything he could send to record companies, and he was really mad about it, too. At first, he was mad at Mom for messing things up, but Mom said that if Rodrick didn't want people to dance, he shouldn't play music. Then, Rodrick turned on me. He said this was all my fault, because if I just taped the show like he asked me to, none of this would have happened. But I told him that maybe if he wasn't such a jerk, I would have done it for him. We started to yell at each other. Mom and Dad broke us up, and then they sent Rodrick down to his room and me up to mine. But a couple of hours later, I went downstairs and I ran into Rodrick in the kitchen. He was smiling, so I knew something was up. Rodrick told me my secret was out. At first, I didn't know what he was talking about. But then I got it. He was talking about the thing that happened to me this summer. I ran down to the basement, and I picked up Rodrick's phone to see if he had made any calls. And sure enough, it looked like he had called every friend of his who had a brother or sister my age. By tomorrow morning, everyone at my school will know the story, and I'm sure Rodrick exaggerated the facts to make the story sound even worse. Now that my secret's out there, I want to put on record what really happened, and not Rodrick's twisted version. So here it goes. Over the summer, me and Rodrick had to stay with Grandpa at his condo in Leisure Towers for a few days. But there was nothing to do, and I was going bonkers. I was so bored, I broke out my old journal and started to write in it. But taking out a book that said diary on the cover in front of Rodrick was a huge mistake. Rodrick stole my journal and made a run for it. He probably would have made it into the bathroom and locked the door if someone hadn't left the Gutbusters game sitting out. He tripped right over it. I scooped the book off the floor and ran out into the hallway and down the stairwell. Then, I ducked into the bathroom in the main lobby and locked myself in a stall. I kept my feet off the floor so that if Rodrick came in, he wouldn't know I was in there. I knew that if Rodrick got a hold of my journal, it would be a nightmare. So I decided to just rip the whole thing into tiny little pieces and flush them down the toilet. It was better to just destroy the thing than risk Rodrick getting his hands on it. But as soon as I started ripping pages out of the book, I heard the bathroom door open. I thought it was Rodrick, so I just stayed completely still. I didn't hear anything, so I peeked over the top of the stall to see what was going on. That's when I saw a woman standing in front of the mirror putting on makeup. I figured the lady just accidentally wandered into the men's room, because people at Leisure Towers are always doing stuff like that. I was about to speak up and tell this lady she was in the wrong bathroom, but right then, someone else walked in. And guess what? It was another woman. That's when I realized that I was the one who messed up, and I was in the women's bathroom. I prayed that those ladies would just wash their hands and leave so I could make a run for it, but they sat down in the stalls on either side of me, and every time one woman would leave the bathroom, someone else would come in and take their place. So I couldn't leave. I just cowered on top of the toilet in my stall. If Rowley thinks he had it bad when those kids made him eat the cheese, he should try being stuck in the Leisure Towers ladies' room for an hour and a half. I guess someone eventually heard me in there, and they reported me to the front desk. Within a few minutes, word got around the building that there was a peeping Tom in the women's room. By the time security came in and got me out of there, everyone who lived in Leisure Towers was down in the lobby, and Rodrick saw the whole thing unfold upstairs on Grandpa's TV. Now that the story was out, I knew I couldn't show my face at school. So I told Mom she was going to have to transfer me somewhere else, and I told her why. Mom said I shouldn't worry about what other people think. She told me that my classmates would understand that I had just made an honest mistake. So that just proves once and for all that Mom doesn't understand a thing about kids my age. Now I'm kicking myself for not keeping up my pen pal relationship with Mamadou. Because if me and him had stayed in touch, maybe I could have gone to France as an exchange student and hid out there for a few years. All I know is, the one place I don't want to go tomorrow is school. And it looks like that's exactly where I'm headed. December. Friday. The craziest thing happened today. When I walked in the door at school, a bunch of guys cornered me, and I braced myself for the teasing to start. But instead of harassing me, they started congratulating me. Everyone was shaking my hand and patting me on the back, and I didn't know what was going on. With all those guys talking to me at the same time, it took me a while to make sense of anything. But here's what must have happened. The story Rodrick told his friends got passed on to their brothers and sisters, and then they told their friends. But by the time word spread around, all the details got totally messed up. So the story went from me accidentally walking into the women's bathroom at Leisure Towers to me infiltrating the girls' locker room at Crossland High School. I couldn't believe everything got twisted like that, but I wasn't about to set the record straight either. All of the sudden, I was the hero at school. I even got a nickname. People were calling me the Stealthinator. Someone even made me a Stealthinator headband, and you better believe I wore it. Things like this never happened to me, so I wasn't going to pass up my moment of glory. And for the first time ever, I knew what it felt like to be the most popular kid at school. Unfortunately, the girls weren't as impressed with me as the guys were. In fact, I think I might have a little trouble getting someone to go to the Valentine's dance with me. December. Monday. You know how Rodrick wanted his band to get noticed? Well, he kind of got his wish, because everybody knows who Loaded Diaper is now. I guess somebody must have thought the tape of Mom cutting loose at the talent show was pretty funny, because it's all over the internet. And now everyone knows Rodrick Heffley as the drummer from the Dancing Mom video. Ever since, Rodrick's been hiding out in the basement, waiting for the whole thing to blow over. And I have to admit, I do feel kind of sorry for him. I'm getting teased about the video at school, too. But at least I'm not in it. And even though Rodrick can be a huge jerk sometimes, he is my brother. Tomorrow is the science fair, and if Rodrick doesn't turn in a project, he's gonna flunk out of school. So that's why I offered to help him out with his project. But just this one last time. We worked together all night, and I don't mean to brag, but we did a really good job. His new project is called Do Plants Sneeze? Anyway, when Rodrick gets first prize tomorrow and passes science, I just hope he realizes how lucky he is to have a brother like me.
The end.